Okay, so we're recording right now. And here is, let me share my screen. Here's test 6. So we're gonna focus on math right now. So sections 3 and 4. Imagine section 3 might take us about half hour to kind of get through. Then maybe we'll do a little break and then we'll do section 4. And perhaps we'll kind of just stick with math today. And then we'll talk about the schedule moving forward. So for number 1, Slims wants to purchase tickets from a vendor to watch a tennis match. The vendor charges a one-time service fee for processing the purchase of the tickets. The equation below represents the total amount T in dollars Slim will pay for N tickets. What does 12 represent in the equation? Okay. So the one thing that you'll want to do is think of this as y equals mx plus b. That will make your life much easier. So the t is like y, and the n is like x. So if you think about it, the 12 is really the y-intercept, meaning that if you don't buy any tickets, if n is 0, you got to pay 12 bucks, regardless of how many tickets you buy. You always got to pay that $12, and even say they charge a one-time service fee. So it looks like that 12 is that one-time service fee. And looking at the the choices, the price of one ticket or total amount we'll pay for one ticket doesn't make too much sense. The total amount we'll pay for any number of tickets, that's what T is. So 12 would definitely be the amount of the service fee or choice fee. So hopefully that one makes a little sense. Okay, so now I'm gonna have you guys try number 2, read through it. You're gonna do kind of the same thing. So you're gonna do some sort of interpretation / translation of the information in the word problem, and then of course pick the right equation that goes with that information. When you're done, please put your answer in the chat. And again, your answer will be confidential because that the chat doesn't get shown on the screen. Only I can see it. So, but go ahead and work through number 2. When you feel like you have the answer, put the answer in the chat, and then we'll talk about it. So we'll spend just about a minute doing that. And actually, I'll even stop the recording, or I'll pause it. Okay. So the correct answer for number 2 is B. So again, you just translate, right? So 60% for fertilizer A, 40% for fertilizer B. So 0.6 X, because percentage always divided by hundreds, plus 0.4 Y, of course, equals 240. And that's all we do. So hopefully that seems pretty straightforward. But that's how that one should work itself out. So let's keep moving here. Let's take a look at 3. Now 3 is a concept that is covered in Algebra 2. So you guys should be pretty comfortable with it. You want the sum of the complex numbers. So really, it's just combining like terms. So this should be a really easy question. Do not overanalyze it, please. So 2 plus 4 is 6. 3i plus 8i is 11i. That's it. Just get C. So again, that they do some questions with complex numbers, but they do keep it pretty pretty easy, you know. So that's that one. Okay. Let's keep moving here. So 4. Now from 4, what I suggest that you do is consider foiling. So you want to foil the right side. So you have 4x squared minus 9 on the left side. And again, on the right side, you want to multiply px with px, px with negative t, t with px, and t with negative t. And actually, I'm covering it now. So here we go. And then you want to just do a kind of a comparison between the two. Another way you can look at it is also kind of look at the choices. Like, what if P were 2? Would that make sense? What if P were 3? Would that make sense? What if P were 4? Would that make sense? What if P were 9? Would that make sense? So you could also just work backwards and test each choice for the letter P on the right side of the equation. So you're going to FOIL, of course, because you want to make the right side look like the left side. So again, I'll give you guys just a little bit to think about it. Put your answer in the chat, and I will pause the recording. Okay, resume recording. So if you think about it, the answer is going to be A. The reason it's going to be A is that when you multiply px with px, you get p squared x squared, and then you get ptx minus ptx, which causes a cancellation, and then minus t squared. So the middle terms just cancel. And so if p squared is going to have to equal 4, therefore p has to be 2. Or if you work backwards, if p is 2, then you have 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So that's what I'd say. All right. So now I'm going to, we'll kind of just go in order again. So here they want you to pick the graph that matches the equation. I mean, that should be pretty easy. You want to slope, y-intercept of -5. So I like B a lot. I don't like A. I don't like C. I do like D. But you need the slope to be +2, which is totally going to be D. So actually D is the winner for that one, because the slope of a B is not what we want. It's a negative slope. We need a positive slope. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, for number 6, I'm going to have you guys try 6 and 7. Actually, I have you guys try this entire page. So I'll give you guys about maybe about 6 minutes. I'd say it's fair. So in the chat, just type in you know, the number and the letter that you want to pick, that you're picking. Again, for those who will be watching this at home or watch this later, you know, you can obviously you know, pause the video and then replay or play the video afterwards once you have the answers. So go ahead and try those right now. Again, what you're going to want to do is substitute here. And here I'd work backwards for number 8. So for example, if x were 1, then do w of 1 plus t of 1 to see what that equals. And of course, you have the columns for w and t right there. For 7, they want you to isolate L. Obviously, isolating L right there in that equation. And then here, you could also work backwards, just like I suggested for number 8. So I'll give you guys a few minutes. Right around 4:30, we'll talk about it, and then we'll keep moving forward. Okay, so we're going to resume recording. So for number 6, all you're doing is replacing y with 18. So you need 2/3 times 18, 36 over 3, 12. You could also cancel these out as well if you wanted to. Either way, you get 12, right? So that's what x equals. So we want 2x minus 3, they want 24 minus 3, which of course is 21. And that's what I'd say. Now for 7, they want you just to get L by itself. So n equals 7 times L times h. So all you need to do is just divide both sides by 7 and h, because see, those cancel. So n over 7h. That's what I'd see. That's all. If you wanted to, you could have plugged in numbers. You could have said like maybe L's 2 and H is 2. Therefore, n would be 28. So again, L is 2. When you work it out, you do get 28 over 14 there. So that's another way you could approach that problem, if you so desired. For 8, what we want to do is you want to substitute. So you can start with W1 plus T1 W1, of course, is -1. T1, of course, -3, that's -4. But you're supposed to say it's equal to X. I mean, -4 is equal 1. That's a problem. Now let's do the next one. You do W2 plus T2. So that's 3 plus -1. Is that equal 2? Yes. And that's what we want. We want to set equal to X. So boom, there you go. So the answer is B as in boy. 5 for 9. Root x plus 3 equals 8. Root x equals 5. Look at the choices. Obviously, 25 is going to make sense. Or you can plug in the choices right away. 5 plus 3 does equal 8. We're all good. So the answer is C as in cat. Okay. So we'll talk about 10 through 13 together. And then I'll have you guys try 14 and 15, see how those go. They'll do the free response after that. Then we'll do a short break. Okay. So number 10. Jaime is preparing for a bicycle race. His goal is to bicycle an average of at least 280 miles per week for 4 weeks. So far, he's done 240 miles the first week, 310 miles the second week, 310 miles the third week. Switch inequality could be used to represent the number of miles X for the 4th week in order to meet his goal. Now remember, an average, and we are recording good, so I'll make sure. An average is simply the sum of values divided by a number of values. That's all an average ever is, right? I mean, if one thing so more tangible, like, say in the game of basketball, like how many points per game does someone average? You say, okay, well, they played 10 games, and here are the number of points they scored in each of those 10 games, add up the number of points, divide by 10, right? Or, maybe 10 homes sold in your neighborhood. What was the average sale price of those 10 homes? Then, of course, you just, go on Zillow, find what each of those 10 homes sold for, add up all those, dollar amounts, and divide by 10, right? Or what for 5 homes and divide by 5 homes, right? You just divide by the number of values you have. So, of course, he did 241 week, and the following week, 310, and then 320. And then we don't know the 4th week. We don't know that. So I'll call it plus X, and then divide by 4. Now that average has to be at least 280, which means it has to be greater than or equal to 280. Looking at the choices, D looks really good to me, because if you multiply both sides by 4, you have 4 times 280 on the right side, and of course the left side is just, those numbers being added up plus X. That's the deal with averages. Let me kind of do 12 because I'm ready. I don't feel like moving the screen down just yet, in case somebody still need to simmer over number 10. So here you have variables in the choices. Whenever that happens, I'll suggest you plug in a number. So what if we let X equal, like, say, something like 1? The top will be 4 plus 6. The bottom will be 4 plus 2. 10 over 6 is 5/3. Now you plug 1 into each choice. That's just 1, no good. I want 5/3. That's 5, no good. This one might be promising. You have 1 minus 2/6, which is actually 1 minus 1/3, which is 2/3. Close, but not quite there. Here you have 1 plus 1 minus 2/6, 2 minus 1/3. Okay, you get 5/3, and that's why the answer is D as in dog. So again, that's strategy, right? 10's a little exceptional, 12's using strategy. You don't really have to simplify it if you don't want to. You could do long division, which you've learned in Algebra 2, but it's a skill that's sometimes not quite reinforced until much later. I think it's covered in pre-cal as well. Let's look at 11 and 13. I'll give you guys a little push for 14, 15. 11 is the only quadratic function that tell the vertex is 0, comma c. So this is right here, 0, comma c. And then apparently they do a transformation. So you got to know your transformations, which we do cover often in algebra and pre-calc. It's actually one of the main skills you get out of that class, both classes. So it seems as though we're shifting right by b units. And then we reflect about x-axis. So shift b right, reflect about the x-axis. So because of shifting right, your vertex now will be b comma c, not negative b comma c. And it's opening up right now, and now it's going to be opening down because of the reflection when you put a negative out in front. So you just got to just know that stuff conceptually. Not really too much. I mean, I guess you could plug in numbers if you wanted to, but I mean, you just got to understand the concept. 13 is very conceptual as well. Now for 13, what you want to do there, they say that this equation has no real solutions. This is a quadratic equation. We could probably get everything on one side. Oh, welcome, Luis. Actually, Luis, I'm going to shoot you an email in just a little bit. Working through a document here. It's a practice test from the College Board website. We're working on section 3, the math section without a calculator. And I'll shoot you an email after I finish explaining number 13, so you have access to the file, because we are going to do some practice problems just a little bit. So going back to number 13 again, they say that this is an equation with no real solutions, which if one could be the value of t, right? Well, if you think about it, we do know quad form. That's what we can use to solve quadratic equations. You can also factor too if it's factorable, but quad form is a surefire way of always getting the answer. And let me make it a little more neat. So some of you guys should have memorized. They don't give it to you on the SAT, but it's something that we've done often in middle school and high school. So some of you should be able to have memorized quite quickly, or recall quickly, but should have memorized. B squared minus 4ac is a part underneath the radical. Now, when that is negative, you have imaginary solutions, because then you're square rooting a negative number. And that means that the solutions are not real. So b squared minus 4ac must be less than 0. Must be less than 0. So you plug in negative 4 for b, that's 16. Minus 4 times a, which is 2. And c is negative t. So 16 plus 8t. 8t is less than negative 16. T is less than negative 2. So this means that t equals negative 3 would provide me that situation, because that is less than negative 2. And if t were negative 3, then it becomes actually 2x minus 4x plus 3. That would actually yield 2 imaginary solutions. Whereas the other options would actually yield us real answers, because the part underneath the radical, b squared minus 4ac. In fact, we call it the discriminant. It discriminates. It kind of, not like racial or gender discrimination, but just it helps us identify differences, right? Because, discrimination in general, you judge based on differences, right? In math, discriminant just means judging the solution based upon whether b squared minus 4ac is positive, negative, or 0. If it's 0, you have you have exactly one real solution. If this part was gone, then you have just negative b over 2a. But if it's positive, you have 2 real, and again, negative, you have 2 imaginary, and that's what we're looking for. So that's A. Okay. So 14, 15, go ahead and try those right now. 14 requires some translating. It's a little tricky with the wording. It's a really long problem. And then 15, what I would suggest that you do, so again, for this one, you're going to want to translate. And for 15, what I'd probably suggest you do is like let A equal some number. Like let's say A equals like 2 and B equals say, I don't know, 4. So you have 2 plus 4 over 2 and then squared. Make sure you follow the order of operations, of course. And then you're going to match with one of these 4 choices, see which of these 4 choices gets you the same result. So again, you have variables in the choices, right? We saw this earlier with number 12, no, number 11, I believe. Number 12. So yeah, you can do the same exact thing that we did for number 12 for number 15. And 14 is just translating, kind of like what we did earlier on with like numbers like 1 and 2, where we had to translate the words into mathematical operations. And that's exactly, and kind of did that with, I guess, number 10, I suppose. So that's what you're doing for 14. And Luis, let me email you that so you try it. So go ahead and try those. Put your answers in the chat when you're done. And again, I do keep that confidential. And for those who have contributed in the chat, you guys have been doing great, so please keep doing that. One sec here. So let me forward this to you, Luis, in 1 second. Okay, go and check your email, Luis. You should see the test. It's called test number 6. And we're on section 3, number 14 and 15. And these are math without a calculator, no calculator allowed. There are 3 files I shared, but 2 of them, one was just a straight up answer to the scale. The other one's actually full-on solutions. And then, of course, the test itself. Okay. So I'll give you guys probably about maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Don't take a short break after that. Okay, we're resuming recording. The answer for 14 is going to be B. So if you read it carefully, the supplier delivers no more than 300 pounds. Okay, so you can't go over 300 pounds. And what are we delivering? Detergent and fabric softener. Each container of detergent weighs that much. Each container of fabric softener weighs that much. D is the number of containers of detergent. S is the number of containers of fabric softener. So really, it's just 7.35 times the number of boxes of detergent, which is D, plus 6.2S. That has to be under 300. So C and D are not going to work because 14.7, I don't know, that doesn't make too much sense. Now they do kind of throw you a curveball here. They say that the service wants to buy at least twice as many containers of detergent as fabric. So the detergent has to be, and actually I lied, the answer is not D. Sorry, the answer is not B. It's A, actually. I'll explain why in just a little bit. This is the part that's tricky. I can see why you guys said B. They say the detergent has by at least twice as many containers of detergent as fabric softener. So what if you have like 10 boxes of fabric softener? They need 20 containers of detergent, right? At least 20 containers. If you put in 10 here, then that makes sense, right? That's not going to make too much sense if you put 10 here and 20 there. I mean, yeah, sure, it still works, but you want to kind of barely meet that minimum. See, what if you had 15 boxes of detergent and 10 boxes of containers? The choice B would satisfy that, but in reality, that should not be satisfied because 15 is not twice 10. So that's why you need to go with A. So you kind of fell for one of those traps. So you really want to be mindful about that. For 15, I believe the answer is actually going to be D. So again, let A equal 2 and B equal 4. You can really make it any number you want, but I just chose one that's easy to work with. So you have 2 plus 2, 4 squared, which is 16. So if you work that out, you get A squared, which of course is 4, plus AB, which of course is 8, plus B squared over 4, 4 squared over 4, 12 plus 16 over 4. 12 plus 4 is 16. So you get a match. It's not going to be B, and you probably got B if you didn't use a strategy. If you just squared those individually, which you can't do, by the way. You can't say like 2 plus 3 squared is 2 squared plus 3 squared. That would be ridiculous, right? We don't want to say that because squares are not distributed. You're totally disobeying the order of operations. It's kind of like the game of baseball. You get a hit, and you're going to just run across the pitch and go straight to second base. No, you got to run the first base and then second base. You can't bypass steps, right? So B just doesn't work, nor does A. Obviously you do 2 plus 3, which is 5, and squared, you get 25. Or in this case, you do A plus B over 2 times A plus B over 2. If you want to FOIL it, go ahead. You can do that as well. I just want to give you a strategy. You could plug in numbers. C is not going to work. Again, you should be getting B squared over 4, and you won't get AB over 2. But if you were to plug in 2 for A, 4, and B, 4 for B, so 2B, that's 8 over 2, that's 4 again. And B squared, 16 over 2. So it's 4 plus 2 plus 8, that's 14, not enough. It's got to be D. Okay. So let's go ahead and keep on moving. So now we'll try the free response questions, then we'll do a little break. I know I promised one, but so again, going to give these a shot. Here, what you probably going to want to do is do a little trial and error. It's not too hard. I know that's not usually the best approach, but I think that should work fine for this one. Here, you're going to want to cross multiply, so it's 2t over 3 equals 5 over 2. So you're going to cross multiply. Now, what's happening for number 18, you're going to have similar triangles. So it means the sides are proportional. So if you look at like the small triangle, it's 8 and 6, and that's C, D, and B. And I look at the bigger one, that's C, A, and E. That's 18. So you should be able to kind of figure out what's going on here with CE. That's what I want to find. You may also want to consider Pythagorean Theorem. Okay. So again, I'll give you guys a few minutes to try that one. Okay, I'll pause the recording. Let's resume recording. Okay. So for example, so A could be 16 and B could be 4. So you have 16 to the 1 power, which is 16. That's the total possibility. B could be 8. You have 4 over 8 to the 4 power, that's 4 squared, which is totally 16. That works just fine. You could also have B could be 16. You do 2 and 16 to the 4 power. 2 to the 4 power is 16, so B could be 16. So I think B could be 8, B could be 16, B could be 4 itself. I think B could even be like 1 or 2 if you want to do a radical. So I think the possible answer are 1, 2, 4, 8, 16. I think those are all the possibilities that you can have. I don't think we can do any more than that if you want to guarantee A and B are positive integers. For T, if you cross multiply, you get 4T equals 15. T is 15 fourths. That's all. Just cross multiply. 18 to Pythagorean theorem, that's 10. So, and that's a 1 to 3 ratio. So 8, 6, and 10. Big triangle, that's 18. Therefore, this will be 24 because it looks at a 3 to 1 ratio or 1 to 3 ratio. That's 30. And that's what we only want C, so it's 30. So, okay. But good work there. Good work. These last two, a little crazy. I'll do them with you guys and we'll do a little break. So how many liters of 25% saline solution must be added to 3 liters of 10% saline solution to obtain a 50% saline solution? So what you do is you do x times 0.25. That's the amount of salt or saline you get from the first solution. Plus 3 times 0.10. That's the amount of salt you get from the second solution. Equals x plus 3. That's the volume of both solution and combine them. Times 0.15, because that will be the amount of salt or saline in the the combination. And you just solve it, you work it out. 0.25x equals plus 0.3 equals 0.15x plus 0.45. You get 0.1x equals 0.15. X equals 15. Sorry, 1.5. My bad. Should be 1.5. So you have 1.5 liters of 25% saline solution. And then finally for 20, for that one there, that's using a bit of proportional reasoning. You have a circle, radius of 1. The circumference is 2 pi r, which is the distance around the whole circle, which will be 2 pi, of course. But if you have an arc, that's pi over 3. That's actually 1/6 of the whole circle. If you divide that arc by the circumference, the pi's cancel, you get 1/3. Or you can actually think of it as 2 pi over 1. So you have pi over 3 times 1 over 2 pi. The pi's cancel, and you get 1/6. So that's another way you can look at it too. Okay, so let's take a little break. Let's come back in about, say, 8 or 9 minutes. We'll just do we won't do all of the section 4, it's a lot to do, but we'll kind of hand pick some problems here. And then, yeah, then we'll just end our call probably around 5:30 or so, but let's do a little break right now. Recording. So now we're looking at section 4 of the calculator portion. And again, the questions will get easy from the beginning and a little more challenging. So number 1, obviously, is just a problem where you could distribute and combine like terms, shouldn't be too hard. Here they're saying Mark is going to head start by how many yards. You could kind of just look at the graph and you can see like 18 yards he's going to head start. Not that hard there. And again, number 1, I think is going to be definitely A or B. Looks like it's going to be A because you get +3 and you do -4 minus -7. But let's jump to some problems that are a little more unique to the SAT. Let's look at 6 and 7. Okay. So the table shows a summary of 12 responses to the survey question. Based on the table, how many of those surveyed get most of the medical information from either a doctor or the internet? Well, obviously that's 76%. And it's a calculator, so you can do 0.76 times 1,200 people. I think you'd be kind of crazy to do this without a calculator because the numbers are kind of bunched up. So I'd use a calculator, 0.76 times 1,200. You can use any calculator, TI-84 calculator, which is common in high school, is fine. So you get C. If you look at 7x, for 7, what are they talking about for that one? For that one, they want us to say the members of a city council want to assess opinions of all city residents about converting an open field into a dog park. The council surveyed a sample of 500 city residents who own dogs. The survey showed that the majority of those sampled were in favor of the dog park, which of the following is true about the city council's survey. Okay. Well, it seems biased, obviously, because you're only surveying people who own dogs, right? So of course, it'd be in favor of the dog park. And plus, we can't really say the majority of city residents because we don't know what percentage of people have dogs anyway. The survey sample have included Should include more residents who are dog. Well, they did include people who are dog owners, so that doesn't make any sense. Service should have considered entirely residents who do not own dogs. Would that be biased also? Because then they would say, they don't want the dog park. But it is biased because it's not representative of all city residents. So we do ask those kind of questions about like surveys and samples. So now let me have you guys try 8 and 9. 9 is a good calculator problem. 8 is dealing with some of the probability. So let me have you guys try that and then put your answers in the chat, please. And again, I'll pause it. This makes sense. So for number 8, of the people who chose vanilla, so obviously only 13 people chose vanilla. How many want hot fudge? 8 out of 13. So that's very simple. That's called a conditional probability. So just make sure you know what total you're dealing with and then what the favorable outcomes are. There's 8 favorable outcomes of the 13 people who had vanilla ice cream. Favorable meaning having hot fudge. Here, the total area of a coastal city is 19.1 square miles, of which 11.3 square miles is water. If the city had a population of that many people in the year 2010, which defines close to population density, so you got to divide people by per square mile of land area. So you got to subtract these two first, which is going to be 80, I don't know, let's just use a calculator, right? I think 80.9, 92.1 minus 11.3, 80.8 actually, 80.8, all right. And 621,000 people, 621,000 people divided by that. We get something close to 7690, so that's B. So good, D and B. All right, so now let's kind of step things up a little bit. Let's look at 12 and 13. It's a little hard to see. Let's take a look at these three here. Number 20 should be pretty easy. The sum of the solutions, obviously x equals 6. Obviously x equals negative 0.7. Add them up. You get 5.3. Easy peasy. Now 21 is asking to consider another kind of survey or sample that's done. And it'll ask about the conclusion for that one. 22 is ask about the median, which is the middle number. Now, frequency means that 4 states have 10 electoral votes. So you would write 10 4 times. And then a frequency of 4 for 11 electoral votes means you got to write 11 4 times as well. And if you have 21 states, you want the median, you want the 11th state. So I'll let you guys figure that one out. And here, just kind of read it and see what you can conclude about that. So again, I'll have you guys try 21 and 22. Okay. Oh, I should have paused the recording. See what we see in the chats. Okay. So we got a couple different answers. Let's go over them right now. Okay. So we're resuming recording. For number 21, a random sample of fish were caught and marked in order to ensure that none were weighed more than once. The sample contained 150 largemouth bass, of which 30% weighed more than 2 pounds. And again, it's a sample, right? It is random, which is good. You always want samples to be random. Like if you were to poll people how they voted in the 2020 election, if you ask a bunch of people in a very liberal area like San Francisco, you know, it would be not terribly random. Or a bunch of people somewhere in the middle of the country that tends to vote for Republicans also wouldn't be very random. You really want to kind of take things, you know, you want randomized so that, you know, the data is more reliable. So anyway, they have random sample, 150 largemouth bass, 30% weigh more than 2 pounds, with full conclusions best scored by the sample data. The majority of all fish weighed. We don't know that. I mean, we don't know how many fish are total in the pond, so it's hard to say if it's the majority weighed less than 2 pounds. The average weight of all fish is approximately. See, the word "all" kind of kills it. We just don't know. Approximately 30% of all fish weigh more than 2 pounds. You probably could. Well, of all fish, sorry, we're just looking at largemouth bass, so C's out as well. I think D is probably the safest choice. I definitely go D because they just only focus on largemouth bass, and these were approximately, like, we're pretty sure, you know, we're not too definitive. I mean, actually, these did use the word "all" for all the choices, so I was incorrect in assuming that that would kill the choice. But the word "approximate" kind of helps, and just focus on largemouth bass. Then finally, let's look at 22. And actually, I will have to end this call a little early. So this will be actually our last problem here. So the median number, so you already have 8 states that satisfy these two. You want the 11th state. That's the 9th state. That's the 10th state, because you have just 1 and 1. The 11th state's going to be right in here. In fact, actually, 11th, 12th, and 13th states have 15 low crow votes. And you want the median, which is the 11th state. That's why it's going to be 15 for that one. If we do look at other, you know, the other problems that kind of deal with functions, more stuff with graphs and charts, they do cover some more advanced topics. So you have the files, you have the answer key, I mean, just a straight up answer key with the scale, and of course the solutions, fully explained solutions. So looks like that's what we have there. So I would encourage you to work through the rest of the problems in section 4. Try section 1 and 2, score it. And then next week won't be meeting. I'll be taking some time off for vacation. But what we'll do is I'll shoot you guys an email, see what you guys prefer for after next week, what makes sense. So look out for that. And I think we'll end our call for today. So have a great rest of the evening. Enjoy the rest of break. As soon as you know, at school will be here. So, all right, cool. And I'll share this recording as well if you'd like to watch it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.